Welcome in, everyone. It is another episode of the Probscast. Your host here at Keaton at Real. Make sure that y'all are following on all social platforms. If it's on Twitter, it's OK State Probs, as well as Instagram. And if you're listening on either Spotify, Apple Music, however you get your podcast, be sure to check out my YouTube channel as well, the Probscast, and to my 5 loyal viewers that always chime in. I try to keep up with the comments. I'm a little bit newer with the YouTube. And obviously, I'm not that consistent when it comes to watching everything on my video. So I'm very excited. Obviously, we have the eternal scoreboard now, and it's not over yet. I think that's what kind of makes the rest of this season so exciting. Is I went to the Bedlam football game, and man, the energy was amazing. It should have been a night game. I think we're all aware of that. And all I can see is a million responses, whether it's to my direct message on my own personal accounts or it's the rest of the Sooner fan base. They are upset. They're mad. They're angry. And I don't think it could make it any sweeter. I do believe that there is a presence with Oklahoma. They have a traditional winning culture. And I don't believe that Brent Venables, nor did I ever believe this season, that he was kind of the guy. And Mike Gundy spoiled that. Mike Gundy is one of the greatest coaches today. He's very undervalued. And I said it all throughout my podcast, even though I missed last week, which I apologize to all of y'all, is that Mike Gundy is a lot smarter man than I am when it comes to football. It's a lot smarter than a lot of us. And that was the reason that Oklahoma State, we've kept him for so long. And I think that he did kind of fall off in the beginning. And I don't know what the fire under his ass was, but man, is it sweet. We're on a 5-game win streak. We're currently sitting at second in the Big 12, 5-1 in conference, 7-2 overall, right behind Texas. Let's say Texas slips up. Okay, that's fine. Texas would fall to fourth, Kansas would fall to second, and we would be in first. The season was never over. Never. And let me tell you something. I'm recording right now. It is 11:19 p.m. And I personally have been reaching out and talking to a lot of different potential guests. And I'll give you an example. 2 of the players that y'all really wanted me to have on last week, right before the Bedlam game, both told me they're focused on Bedlam and they will not be coming on. Following the Bedlam game, I got told the same message. And they said for the rest of the season, they're going to be focused on football, which I love. I'm not bigger than what's going on. And I completely appreciate that. I've reached out to a lot of the current players because I know that that's what typically drives the views in this show. My largest views either come from Hall of Famers like Tyreek Hill or they come from current players. And that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of the things that I see is, the refs ruined that game. They were rooting for Oklahoma State. They didn't have a chance. Let me help you out. I know I have some Sooner fans that do follow this podcast, and I appreciate y'all's too. But let me go ahead and help y'all out real quick. The time of possession for this game was 37 minutes for Oklahoma State, 22:46 for the Sooners. We cut the ball out of their hands. Interceptions thrown. Listen, Ollie Gordon is a Heisman level running back, which we're going to get to later. He should never throw a football ever again. So the Sooners had an interception from Dylan Gabriel. Fumbles. Sooners had 2. Oklahoma State had 0. So that's 3 turnovers so far from the Sooners. Penalties. If you want to look at penalties and chalk it up, the Sooners had 8 penalties for 55 yards. Oklahoma State had 4 for 29. Where are all of these Sooner fans who have this thought process that the refs really won this ball game? I saw a missed kick, I saw an interception, and I saw 2 fumbles. The Sooners didn't. It's not one play that defines that game. But what does define the entire series is that eternal scoreboard that Oklahoma State will have over Oklahoma until they meet up again. And God knows when that will be. Um, it is super sweet. It is. And I would rather not play Texas in the Big 12 championship game, not because I fear Texas, but ultimately because I would rather neither one of them make the conference championship game. You look at the rest of Oklahoma State's schedule, and nothing is set in stone in this Big 12. We're looking at it in the face right now. Hell, Iowa State was a shoo-in before this last week, losing to Kansas, especially having the tiebreaker over Oklahoma State. And we look at it now, and it's like, okay, well, Iowa State was up there. They had a loss to Ohio. Oklahoma State is up there. They have a loss to South Alabama. Kansas State last year had a loss to Tulane at home. Anything can happen. And we learned very early on that we shouldn't pave it all the way there. The Sooners haven't, and they never will. They were still coming at me today. And, I personally didn't know exactly, like, there's no way we could be that upset. And I kept reading all week, oh, well, Trace Ford is the team captain. And you're getting a pissed off Oklahoma team. No, we're getting the same Oklahoma team as last year with some upgrades here and there. And it makes Texas look a lot worse. They lost that game. Which, by the way, shout out to Alan Bowman. He tied Trace Ford's stat line, 1 tackle. So I really appreciate him on that. And a lot of people came after my account, for calling out Trace Ford. And Trace Ford blocked me up until this last week. And I think he was looking for some fuel, and I gave it to him. Who am I? I'm a dude who has a podcast with a social media account. And it felt like some of their players, the ones that had not messaged me, but the ones that were interacting with me and everything like that, I'm like, I'm not on the field. Y'all are aware of this, right? But people like it. That's what makes college football so exciting is the pettiness. And overall, it just felt like Oklahoma State outplayed the Sooners. It didn't look like the Sooners beat themselves. It didn't look like the refs won the ball game. It looked like Oklahoma State was the better football team. And I'll give the Sooners credit. They did give Ollie Gordon a very tough time rushing. And when you look at the stats, Ollie Gordon was 33 carries for $137, 2 touchdowns. He was still effective whenever we needed him to be, but the Sooners were definitely prepared for that. And it was exciting watching what the Sooners had in store for us, because I was curious, if there is a year for Ollie Gordon to win the Heisman, another running back since Derrick Henry, then it looks promising this year. I'd like to give a stat out real quick. Derrick Henry, obviously a man amongst men. We all seen the photo of him standing next to Mark Ingram, the former Heisman the year before from Alabama, and he dwarfs the former Heisman winner. Ollie Gordon's had 174 carries, 200 up. This is all throughout the first 9 games. I apologize. Ollie Gordon's had 174 carries. Derrick Henry at this point had 218. Ollie Gordon has 1,224 yards rushing. Derrick Henry has 1,254. Ollie Gordon has 12 touchdowns. Derrick Henry 17. And Ollie beats him in the passing game, having 22 catches. Derrick Henry had 8. Wasn't really the thing, but receiving yards make up a little bit. Ollie Gordon having 219 receiving yards. Derrick Henry having 69. And Ollie Gordon having 1 receiving touchdown, while Derrick Henry has 0. So they're pretty much identical to the first 9 games. But this is what I will say. We didn't know that we had Ollie Gordon, or at least I feel like I did, but what do I know? But Ollie Gordon didn't really play the first 3 games of the season. And you look at it from a standpoint of, I think that if he can keep it up, then he can make it work. And if there's one coach that can really get him there, especially going through Oklahoma State where we don't have a massive logo such as Alabama, it's Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy's had a lot of talks on these post-game / pregame on the Monday shows that he has where they were talking about how do you handle Ollie Gordon right now, and he says, listen, I've played with the best of the best of the best when it comes to running backs, and I've just told Ollie, calm down, understand what's in front of you. You can do this, but let's keep a steady head. And man, I just absolutely love Ollie. That was my girlfriend's first time in the state of Oklahoma, her first game day ever. The Sooners are now 0-2 when she goes and watches them play. The last time being the Cheez-It Bowl last year. We went out to Orlando, Florida State, Oklahoma. I wore my Oklahoma State gear, and man, did it bang. Florida State fans absolutely loved it. But it was an electric energy, and Ollie Gordon was tested. They came at it with everything they had. They held him to a pretty good standpoint. I mean, he only had 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's the best I've seen anyone this season, while we know that we have Ollie Gordon in the backfield. Huge shout out to my sponsor, homefieldapparel.com. Make sure you go check it out. They have a lot of awesome gear, full retro. It's some of the best material ever. If you are watching on video, I'm wearing one of the shirts right now. It says, "Here comes Bullet." It's a little bit, yeah, I mean, it's pretty damn badass. But make sure you use code word PROBS, PROBS, for 15% off your first purchase. I cannot actually fathom that how many people have used it. I get a little bit of commission off of it, and man, I knew that I paired with the right brand, and I really wanted to go with them. I had other brands reach out, and their material and everything that they sent me, I wasn't really on board with it. And I will admit, I did kind of hound Home Field because it was right before the season that I landed the deal. And man, they just came out with these bomber jackets, and they're some of the coolest. Like, oh my gosh, even if it's not Oklahoma State, go check it out for your friends. I know y'all are about to be Christmas shopping. Make sure to use code word PROBS, that's PROBS, for 15% off your first purchase. Check it out. Send the link to all your friends. Who doesn't like saving money, especially right before Christmas time and everything like that? Get it out of the way now, especially while it's hot. Because, man, it is some of the best gear out there. Homefieldapparel.com. Make sure to use code word PROBS for 15% off your first purchase. So going on, because I can actually move on from things. You look at the rest of the schedule and you're looking at we go to UCF. It's their homecoming. UCF has one conference win this season, and it was against Cincinnati, and it's no one to be slept on. I think especially with the veteran status of Alan Bowman, the veteran status of Mike Gundy, they see these things year after year, and how people overlook certain games as opposed to another. UCF is an awesome school. For my loyal listeners, I just moved back from Florida. I had a lot of UCF fans around me. I would actually, Barry J. Sanders, he lives down in Orlando. I'd go kick it with him. And man, it was an awesome environment. And I was super stoked for a lot of these teams coming in. But God, man, they're just not that good at football. It's really hard. I believe the spread, this is what does worry me. The spread I looked up right before, if I'm not mistaken, let me pull this back up. The spread is Oklahoma State minus 2.5. Today is Tuesday, November 6th. So I could see that spread moving a little bit. Oklahoma State moves up to number 15 in the country. Obviously, Central Florida is unranked. But I could see that spread moving around a little bit. And anything can happen from this point forward. Oklahoma State goes on the road to UCF, on the road to Houston, and we have BYU at home. But anything can happen. And if there's any players listening, I get it. It's a freaking badass win. But let's keep it straight. Let's keep it going. Maybe we can make something happen. And boy, would it just be sweet. For the last, year? This is the worst Oklahoma team in 50 years, and we beat you 91-19-7. That's the final score of an eternal scoreboard. A trophy that belongs and remains in Stillwater forever. The Bedlam series is done, and we got our final laugh. And don't let them twist it. It doesn't matter what happens from this point forward. Oklahoma State has the last laugh. Oklahoma fans thought they could do it. They touted, we're going to make it all this year. Brent Venables was seen talking about this is the 2000 Sooners team. This is exactly what it felt like. I was there. Not when Ollie Gordon's there, baby. And not when Alan Bowman, our defense, Mike Gundy. Not when all cylinders are rolling in Stillwater are they going to have a shot. I am excited, and I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. I sometimes get a little nervous doing a lot of these podcasts by myself, and I absolutely love making the content. I love all of my followers. I've had the best interactions with so many people that spotted me on the strip. Definitely made me look a lot hotter to my girlfriend because she brings me down. But man, when I got to bring her to the state of Oklahoma, y'all really showed out, shook a lot of hands, took some photos, and I absolutely loved it. So other than that, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe on whatever you're listening to. The Probscast on YouTube, Spotify. Seriously, save some money with that home field apparel. Use code word Probs for 15% off your first purchase. And I'll try to get some better guests on. We got a lot going on right now. I got a big boy job. I'm not sitting in my college apartment. It's a lot different from what I knew. And let's go kick the hell out of the Citronauts at UCF. Till next time, go Pokes.